You know, down in Texas, they have this saying for people who look incredibly wealthy, the ones driving those massive flashy trucks, wearing designer clothes, but who actually have zero assets to their name.
Oh, right. Big hat, no cattle.
Exactly. Big hat, no cattle.
It really is a perfect metaphor.
Yeah.
Because, we are so conditioned to judge a person's financial success purely by their visible consumption.
Yeah, we see the hat, right.
Right. The hat is what we see, so we just automatically assume the cattle must be grazing out back somewhere.
We all do it. I mean, you've seen these people. But the data from this landmark 1998 book, The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko, it proves that basically everything we think about these people is mathematically wrong.
Yeah, completely wrong.
So today we are doing a deep dive into this research. Our mission here is to extract the exact formulas from this 2-decade-long study, so you, listening right now, can actually test your own financial reality.
But to do that, we have to sever this psychological link between income and wealth.
Yeah.
They are two entirely different concepts, and society just constantly conflates them. I mean, income is simply what you earn. It's just the number printed on your paycheck.
Just cash flow.
Exactly. Whereas wealth is what you actually accumulate, what you keep over time, making a massive income every year and then spending every single dime of it to maintain some lavish lifestyle that doesn't make you wealthy.
No, it just means you're living high. Okay, let's unpack this. Because this core illusion of wealth is exactly where that big hat, no cattle concept comes in.
Right.
If a high income doesn't automatically equal high wealth, we need a reliable way to measure who is actually wealthy and who is just pretending.
Well, the authors actually developed a very clear, almost ruthless mathematical formula for this.
Oh, I love the formula.
It determines exactly what your net worth should be based on your age and your income history. So if you want to measure your own financial fitness, the equation works like this. You take your age and you multiply it by your pre-tax annual household income.
And that's from all sources, right?
Yes, all sources. But, and this is important, you exclude any inheritances.
Got it.
Then you divide that total number by 10.
Okay, let's slow that down and run a simple round number example so you can calculate this in your head right now. Let's say you're 40 years old.
Okay.
And your household income is a flat $100,000 a year. You multiply 40 by 100,000, which gives you 4 million.
Right.
Divide that 4 million by 10, and your baseline expected net worth is $400,000.
Precisely. And that number represents the threshold of just a baseline accumulator.
Yeah.
Based on where people fall relative to that expected number, the authors divide the population into two really distinct categories.
The opposite ends of the spectrum.
Exactly. First, you have the PAWs. That stands for Prodigious Accumulators of Wealth. To qualify as a PAW, your actual net worth needs to be at least twice your expected wealth from that formula.
So for our hypothetical 40-year-old making $100,000, their baseline was $400,000. To achieve PAW status, they would need to have at least $800,000 in accumulated net worth.
You got it. And then, on the other end of the behavioral spectrum, you have the UAWs, the Underaccumulators of Wealth.
The big hats.
The big hats. These are the people whose actual net worth is half or even less of their expected wealth.
So for that same 40-year-old, if their net worth is $200,000 or lower, they are officially a UAW.
Exactly.
You know, this concept reminds me of a physical fitness test. Have you ever noticed those people you see jogging through your neighborhood day after day? They usually look like they absolutely do not need to jog.
Right. They already look super fit.
Exactly. But that is the underlying mechanism of fitness. They look that way precisely because they put in the daily work. And wealthy people stay wealthy by consistently exercising their financial discipline.
That's a great way to put it.
But I'm stuck on a major contradiction here. If the formula is this straightforward, basically just financial diet and exercise, why do so many highly educated, high-earning professionals completely fail the test?
Yeah, it's counterintuitive.
Right, you'd think doctors and lawyers would be acing this math.
What's fascinating here is that high education actually creates structural and psychological barriers to wealth accumulation.
Really? Barriers?
Yeah. The authors illustrate this by comparing two hypothetical physicians, Dr. North and Dr. South. Dr. North is a PAW, while Dr. South is a UAW. But statistically speaking, doctors and highly educated professionals overwhelmingly fall into the UAW category.
Wow, overwhelmingly.
Overwhelmingly. And the first barrier is simply a lack of time in the market. Think about it. Someone who skips college might start building wealth and compounding interest at age 20.
Right, they're earning right away.
Exactly. But a doctor is spending a decade or more in medical school and residency. They're paying steep tuition, they're racking up massive debt, and they are not earning a meaningful income.
So they're basically starting a marathon 10 miles behind the starting line.
That's exactly it. And that 10-mile deficit is then compounded by a second, much more insidious factor.
Which is
Immense societal pressure. When you achieve the title of a doctor or, say, a high-powered corporate lawyer, society projects a very specific lifestyle onto you.
oh, sure, the country club, the cars.
Right. Patients, clients, peers, they all expect you to live in an exclusive zip code, drive an imported luxury car, wear tailored suits. You end up trading your actual wealth for the artifacts of success just to play the part.
Just keeping up appearances.
Yeah. Take Dr. South, the UAW in the book. He makes over $700,000 a year, yet his net worth is steadily declining.
Wait, making 700 grand and declining?
Yes, because he spends over $100,000 annually just to cover his mortgage, and he drops another $30,000 a year on clothing alone.
$30,000 just hanging in a closet.
It's wild.
I mean, that was practically the median income of an entire American household at the time of this study. And it's completely immobilized in fabric.
It really puts it into perspective.
It does. And if highly educated American doctors are so easily trapped by this need for status artifacts, it begs the question of who is actually immune to it.
That's where the demographics get really interesting.
Because you would naturally assume the people who hold the wealth are the ones who have been here the longest, right? Like the English ancestry group, the descendants of the Mayflower, the folks on the ground floor of the American economy.
And they do represent about 10% of the U.S. population. Plus, they make up 21% of all millionaire households.
But the data shows they only rank fourth in actual concentration of millionaires.
Right, they're fourth. The demographic group that ranks first in millionaire concentration is actually Russian.
That blew my mind.
It's incredible. Out of every 100 households headed by someone of Russian ancestry, about 22 are millionaires. And Scottish ancestry ranks second.
The Scottish demographic provides a perfect window into the mechanics of this, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Because most Scottish ancestry millionaires actually earn less than $100,000 a year. They aren't out-earning the doctors.
No, not at all.
They outperform them because they operate with a deeply ingrained cultural psychology of thrift. Like, a Scottish household earning $100,000 might voluntarily live as if their income is only $85,000.
And the wealth is built strictly inside that intentional $15,000 gap.
Exactly.
But that psychology of thrift highlights a broader and honestly a rather fragile dynamic in the data. 80% of American millionaires are first-generation rich.
80%.
Yeah. They did not inherit a single dime. They built their fortunes entirely from scratch.
See, that's what gets me. If they're building it from scratch and passing down these cultural habits, it seems like they should be creating these untouchable dynasties. Why does the data show this wealth almost universally evaporating by the second or third generation?
Well, we have to look at the psychological friction of the immigrant experience. The authors explore this through the story of a man named Victor.
Right, Victor the roofer.
Yes, Victor is a classic first-generation success story. Started as a roofer, eventually built a highly successful contracting business. He achieved his millionaire status through sheer grit, taking calculated risks and operating in a self-imposed environment of scarcity.
He lived well below his means.
Exactly. But like almost every parent, Victor wanted a quote-unquote better life for his children.
And a better life for Victor means his kids shouldn't have to carry heavy bundles of shingles up a ladder in the summer heat.
Nobody wants that for their kids if they can avoid it.
Right. It means sending them to expensive universities so they can become the doctors, lawyers, and corporate executives we just talked about.
But there's the trap. By shielding them from the very scarcity that forged his own work ethic, Victor inadvertently socializes his children to reject the traits that made him successful in the first place. He encourages them to postpone their entry into the labor market by spending years in academia. And by pushing them into those high-status professions, he drops them right into that high-consumption, low-savings lifestyle of Dr. South.
They become the people they were warned about.
Yeah, Victor's kids become fully Americanized. They transition from the prodigious accumulators of their father's era into stressed-out, hyper-consuming UAWs. They know they make a high income, but they constantly feel broke. It creates severe cognitive dissonance.
It's tragic, really. Victor's grueling labor essentially funded the destruction of his own family's wealth-building
That's
habits.
the dark way to look at it, but it's true.
The kids learn how to spend money, not how to tolerate the discomfort required to keep it. And this leads directly into a fundamental misunderstanding of what the lifestyle of the actual rich looks like.
We are totally force-fed a media diet of hyperconsumption.
Oh, completely. The book mentions Don King, the boxing promoter. He walks into a shoe store in Atlanta and spends $64,100 on 110 pairs of shoes in a matter of hours.
Just unbelievable.
That is the image of wealth broadcast to the world.
And it trains our youth to equate extreme purchasing power with ultimate success.
But the typical millionaire lives a mundane, almost aggressively boring lifestyle.
So boring.
I love that story about the focus group. The authors ran a focus group of decamillionaires, people worth over $10 million, and the researchers wanted to roll out the red carpet.
Right, they went all out.
They rented a posh Manhattan penthouse, hired gourmet food designers, poured 1970 vintage Bordeaux wine, and laid out expensive caviar.
And then the first guy shows up.
Yes. The first participant arrives, a guy they nicknamed Mr. Bud, who owns millions in commercial real estate. They offer him a glass of vintage Bordeaux. He looks at it, visibly confused, and tells them he only drinks scotch and 2 kinds of beer free and Budweiser.
And the rest of the millionaires largely ignored the caviar and just ate the plain crackers.
They just wanted the crackers.
It's so funny. But the raw data strongly reinforces this behavior. I mean, 50% of the millionaires surveyed had never spent more than $399 on a suit of clothing.
Less than $400.
Yeah. They are frequently buying off the rack from department stores like J.C. Penney. Half of them have never spent more than $140 on a pair of shoes or $235 on a wristwatch.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Look at their wallets. A millionaire is 4 times more likely to carry a Sears credit card than a Brooks Brothers card.
Sears instead of Brooks Brothers.
Yeah, because for a true wealth accumulator, buying luxury goods is like buying a rapidly melting ice cream cone.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
It looks incredible for a split second, but moths, cigar ash, and the brutal reality of depreciation, they do not care if a suit is bespoke or if it costs $2,000. The financial value evaporates the moment you walk out of the store.
And that aversion to depreciation is why defense is treated as equal to, if not more important than, offense in wealth building.
Earning a high income is great offense.
Right. But if you play terrible defense by pouring it into assets that instantly lose value, you lose the overarching game. The primary tool of financial defense is a meticulous budget.
Which brings us to Mrs. Rule. Let's look at Mrs. Rule, the auctioneer. She is a quintessential PAW, and she relies entirely on that defensive mindset.
It really does. And by the way, auctioneers are actually overrepresented in the millionaire category.
Which seems odd at first glance.
It does. But when you analyze the psychology of an auctioneer, the reason becomes very clear. They spend their entire careers watching what happens to consumer goods when a family goes bankrupt.
Oh, man.
They stand on a podium and physically catalog people's most prized, high-status possessions as they get auctioned off for pennies on the dollar.
Just watching wealth melt away.
Exactly. And that constant exposure creates a deep psychological allergy to depreciating assets. So Mrs. Rule applies the same ruthless accounting skills from her auction business to her household budget. She uses this tracking to visualize the long-term benefits of her frugality.
Like funding her grandchildren's college education.
Right, or just cementing her own independence. She exerts total control over her consumption.
Whereas the UAWs operate in reverse.
Yeah.
They allow their income, and specifically their access to credit, to completely dictate their spending.
Yes.
And the ultimate case study of this UAW mindset is a man the authors call Teddy Friend. Teddy pulls in $221,000 a year, but he lives paycheck to paycheck.
Which is terrifying.
It is. His entire financial architecture is built on a psychological need to overcompensate for his blue-collar, low-income background.
Yeah, Teddy grew up in a very modest home, but he was surrounded by kids from wealthier families. So early on, he internalized the idea that being, quote-unquote, better off meant displaying the artifacts of wealth.
The hats again.
The hats.
Yeah.
Today, he owns 6 cars, 2 boats, and holds memberships to 2 separate country clubs. He shops exclusively at high-end stores. But the fascinating psychological mechanism here is that Teddy actually weaponizes his own debt.
Weaponizes it.
Well, by taking on massive mortgages and auto loans, he manufactures this intense, crushing fear of default. That fear is what forces him to wake up in a cold sweat and work incredibly hard every day just to keep the whole house of cards standing.
So he literally needs the financial terror to maintain his work ethic.
Yes.
But the tragic part is that he inherited this relationship with money directly from his parents. They were poor, but they spent every single dollar that came into their hands. The book does this devastating mathematical breakdown of his parents' cigarette habit.
Oh, the cigarette math. It's brutal.
Over 46 years, his parents smoked 3 packs a day. That amounts to over 50,000 packs of cigarettes, costing them roughly $33,000 in cash.
And when you apply the mechanics of wealth accumulation to that habit, the reality is just stark. If Teddy's parents had taken that exact $33,000, the money they literally lit on fire, and invested it in the broader stock market over those 46 years, it would have grown to nearly $100,000.
Wow.
But the authors pushed the thought experiment even further. If they had invested that money specifically into Philip Morris stock and reinvested the dividends, their portfolio would have eventually been worth over $2 million.
$2 million.
Just from cigarettes.
Just from redirecting the cost of a daily habit into an appreciating asset. It completely reorients how you view small, consistent investments. But Teddy and his parents didn't understand the power of invested capital. They only understood realized income.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we uncover perhaps the single most crucial lesson in the entire book. The ultimate killer of wealth isn't just a penchant for buying expensive things. It is the act of realizing too much taxable income.
The tax trap. The authors illustrate this through a brilliant, almost theatrical dialogue between 2 IRS agents, Mr. Young and Mr. Stern. Mr. Young is a senior manager, and he's deeply frustrated by how the IRS consistently loses out on tax revenue from actual millionaires.
Yeah, Mr. Young points out that the IRS effectively roots for people to be high earners and high spenders. When a highly paid athlete buys a $2 million yacht, he has to realize $4 million in income just to cover the taxes required to make the purchase.
The IRS operates as a silent partner in your consumption.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what makes Mr. Young furious are what he calls BR transfers, before the reaper.
Right. And just a quick note for you, the listener, we aren't taking a stance on whether this tax structure is right or wrong.
No, not at all.
We are simply breaking down the objective strategies these individuals used in the source material to shield their wealth. So, before the reaper. The IRS expects a massive payday when a wealthy person dies. But smart millionaires transfer their wealth to charities, educational institutions, and relatives before they pass away.
On paper, they make themselves look entirely average. The typical millionaire surveyed realizes only about 6.7% of their total wealth is income in any given year.
Less than 7%.
Less than 7% of their actual net worth is subjected to income tax. The vast majority of their wealth remains parked in appreciating assets, like stocks, commercial real estate, or private businesses, where it can grow tax-free.
And the book points to Ross Perot as the absolute pinnacle of this strategy. At the time of this research, Perot's estimated net worth was $2.4 billion. Yet his tax rate as a percentage of his total wealth was a mere 0.8%.
Less than 1%.
Yeah. For context, the average American household was paying the equivalent of 11.6% of their net worth in taxes every year. Perot was paying a fraction of what the average citizen pays relative to his total wealth.
He achieved that because he actively minimized his realized income. He kept his wealth in tax-free municipal bonds and stocks with unrealized gains. The central takeaway is that for the purpose of building wealth, the raw number of how much you make is largely irrelevant. What dictates your financial future is what you do with what you keep.
Wait, let me push back on this a bit. Because if I'm grinding away and making $700,000 a year like Dr. South, I want to live in a nice neighborhood. I want the good zip code and the nice house. Isn't that the entire point of earning a high income in the first place? Doesn't a high-status neighborhood mean you've finally made it?
See, that is the ultimate trap for the high-income earner.
Really?
The data clearly demonstrates that moving into a high-status neighborhood is one of the most effective ways to destroy your ability to accumulate wealth.
How so?
The moment you move into an expensive zip code, your baseline property taxes skyrocket. You are immediately surrounded by neighbors who drive imported cars, hire private landscapers, and send their kids to elite private schools. The psychological pressure to conform to that standard is immense.
So you start spending to keep up.
Right. And to fund that elevated lifestyle, you are forced to realize a massive amount of your income every single year. Realizing more income triggers higher tax brackets. You end up trapped on a treadmill, generating huge tax bills just to maintain the neighborhood overhead, which severely chokes off your ability to put money into actual investments.
Wow. You are essentially trading your future financial independence for the temporary validation of a fancy address.
Exactly.
Which brings us right back to you, the listener. We've thrown a lot of formulas, demographics, and behavioral psychology at you today. But the authors distilled 2 decades of research down to one single golden rule if you want to become truly wealthy.
And it's a powerful rule.
It is. If you are not yet wealthy but want to be someday, never purchase a home that requires a mortgage that is more than twice your household's total annual realized income.
It is a profound structural constraint. By intentionally choosing to live in a less costly area, you fundamentally lower your entire domestic overhead. Your property taxes remain manageable, you face significantly less social pressure to hyper-consume, and most importantly, you free up major cash flow.
Cash flow to invest.
Right, to invest in assets that grow without constantly triggering a tax event.
So what does this all mean? It means that true financial independence, the kind where you could survive for 10 or 20 years without ever needing a paycheck, provides a level of freedom and peace of mind that is infinitely more valuable than a bespoke suit, a luxury car, or a high-status zip code.
The wealthy choose freedom over artifacts.
And this raises an important question, something we want to leave you to ponder long after this deep dive ends.
Yeah, think back to the story of Victor, the immigrant roofer, and his children. If the ultimate goal of accumulating wealth is to give your children a better life filled with high education and high status,
Right.
but the friction of that exact high-status environment is what transforms them into stressed-out, hyper-consuming underaccumulators of wealth. Wait, is the traditional American dream inherently designed to sabotage the next generation?
Man, it really makes you reconsider the entire script we've been handed.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope that the next time you are sitting at a stoplight and you see someone pull up next to you in a brand new imported luxury car, you will look at them a little differently, because chances are you aren't looking at wealth at all. You are just looking at a really big hat with absolutely no cattle.